Hello, I'm Robert Hitt, and this is AstroEcon Instructional Video 2. Last week we went over the daily charts and how each day is different and showed the aspects as they're falling from one day to the next. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at the microscopic astrological influences that occur during the day. Many people are particularly interested in this because if you can call the little squiggles during the day, there's a lot of money to be made in day trading. I want to emphasize one thing to viewers: this is not a simple matter of picking a time and acting on it. You have to be aware of what is going on technically and astrologically to be able to use these signals properly. I know you're all interested in how to make money on intraday trading. This is something I developed back in 1997, 1998 by actually going onto the floor of the S&P pit and feeling sort of the animal energy rising and falling. And the thought occurred to me that as the planets are passing over Chicago, either hitting the ascendant, which is where the sun rises, the descendant is where the sun sets, the midheaven is where the sun is at noon. Now, what we want to do is we want to pay particular attention to when the planets are passing over these angles. Ascendant, midheaven, descendant, and nadir. Now, during the trading day, the sun is passing around in a 24-hour cycle, and the rest of the planets are going around with it. And as these planets are hitting these angles is when things happen. And we'll go into a price chart later and show you examples of this. Anyway, if we put this into motion, we will be able to see how the day progresses on a minute-by-minute basis. You can see the sun is starting up. We started at 8:30, which is the beginning of the trading day in Chicago. And the moon right now is just past the square to Mars. So we want to watch when the moon hits an angle because that's sort of a hot aspect on this day. We also want to watch when Mars and Pluto, which are in a 60-degree sextile, when they hit angles, watch where the market is and see if it's going to react to these things. One word of caution is that these are very small influences. They don't take place over a very long period of time. If the market's technically ripe for a change, these little aspects, these little influences can turn things. And when I watched this going on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, there was almost like a rising and falling of the noise in the pit as these things were taking place. By the way, the day we're dealing with here is March the 16th, 2009. Now, the moon is hitting the descendant. We're at 10:56 a.m. Chicago Daylight Time. That's 11:56 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. What we're looking for is whether the market is ripe at a point in time, and we're going to go to the price chart next and we're going to take a look at that. We're now looking at my Wave 59 program, which I have installed a template to show me when these angle hits are happening and when they're going to occur throughout the trading day. The Moon-Mars square that we just looked at is occurring right there. That's what this line is that I have on my template. As you can see, the market dropped down into it and it's reversed out of it. The other lines are when the other planets are hitting these angles. So while I'm watching the market during the day, I'm watching this trend line, I'm also watching when the planets are hitting the angles at Chicago. And as you can see from this chart, it's very often, particularly on a day like today that's not real wild, that these astro hits are definitely moving prices. We're looking at the Moon-Mars aspect for today as being a hot aspect. This is when the moon hits the angle at Chicago. You can see that there's definitely a change of trend on the intraday chart when that angle hit occurred. This is why this is such an exciting technique. Okay, now we're going to look at Mars, which is squared by the moon. This aspect is past exact, hence the dotted line. What we're looking for is still some residual effect of this particular aspect. By the way, Moon-Mars aspect is kind of annoying, jumpy, makes people leap at things, tends towards days that trend starts, it quits, it starts, it quits. It's a very annoying kind of day. So we're going to look at, on the price chart, when Mars hits the midheaven and see if we can see anything from that. So we're looking at Mars. Mars is this red line here. We can see what happened when the moon hit. Now Mars is hitting angles at Chicago. You had a little rise, and it looks to me like people got frustrated, whatever, expecting more, getting impatient, and then all of a sudden, after this angle pass, you had a fairly nice run after that. Actually, it ran right up to the next aspect. That's your Pluto aspect. That's Pluto hitting the descendant. That's what Pluto on the descendant looks like. Pluto is just setting at the western horizon at the Chicago location. This right here, this blue line, that's Uranus hitting the angle. So far on the trading day, that's the high for the day, and we've had the biggest correction of the entire day. Right within a minute or two of when Uranus hit the angle is when that correction began. Well, just a little lesson today on how the astro hits are affecting intraday trading. It's one of the most fascinating things that I do. I sit and watch these things occurring all day, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to make small trades. I want to caution people to not expect too much. There are days when this just doesn't seem to work, and other days it seems like it's really great and it's like the holy grail of trading. As usual with astrology, everything's a work in progress. Even the best of us are still learning. So take this little lesson with a grain of salt. I want to be very emphatic about saying that nobody has all the answers, and life is sure fascinating to watch these things unfold. When the planets are passing over the location of the exchange and hitting angles, that it tends to be times when things happen, when people change their mind, and that's the basis upon which the angle hits are having an influence. And they don't do this every day, but when they do, it's just a thing of beauty to watch. This is Robert Hitt saying goodbye for today. I'll see you next week.